Welcome to the first ever episode of Mom's Wooden Spoon. We are your giddy hosts. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Carrie. And you are never going to believe the coincidences that led us to this podcast today. In this episode, we'll explain how a food splattered 3-ring binder, a small town grocery store, and a 95-year-old home economist brought us here to you with a dish of chutney frosted cheese spread.
Welcome to Mom's Wooden Spoon.
Get your apron on and your fanny flicker ready as we cook up some nostalgia.
Ooh, yummy. Hey there, this is Kristen.
And this is Carrie. And we are the sisters who hatched this crazy plan to cook while we chat about our childhood, nostalgia, and cool facts about food and life in general. Okay, so this show is going to be a little bit different than the rest of them because we need to catch you up to speed before we start throwing some chutney frosted cheese spread at you.
That's true. So here's the story. I was cleaning our mom's kitchen when I found this dusty old 3-ring binder stuffed way at the back of a cupboard. The minute I saw the name written on the spine in our mom's perfect cursive, I was shot back in time to our childhood in the 70s and 80s. Now, being the great sister that I am, I instantly called you.
And I was in the middle of a 10-hour drive and totally appreciated the distraction. I remember you calling and asking me if I remembered Mary's memos. And I'm pretty sure I screamed, OMG, those recipe flyers from the grocery store that mom brought home when we were kids. And they were on copied paper in pink and blue and this yucky yellow.
And of course, I screamed, yes! And I told you that they contained more than just recipes, Carrie, that we had hit nostalgic gold. It was packed with food trends, local events like the crowning of the local pork queen, and the best diet ideas the 70s had to offer. So I sat down right there on the kitchen floor and just started reading the amazing contents to you. Some of the recipes that we remembered mom cooking were super easy to find because they were dog-eared, underlined, starred, and completely food splattered. We were smiling, laughing, and remembering the past. It was awesome.
It was that phone call that launched the idea for us to do this podcast. We just had so much fun that we wanted to share that joy with others.
And the crazy part about this is that after we came up with this idea, it was like the universe kept telling us to just keep moving forward with it. The highlight of this happened on our last trip home. Mom and I ran to Chief's supermarket to pick up some items for dinner. And as we were leaving, there on a little stand, just like when we were kids, was a Mary's memo. Seriously, I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. I thought Mary had stopped doing those memos decades ago. Turns out she had, but she decided to do one more memo titled The Final Memo. And it came out the week we happened to be in town. Total kismet.
Right? So, what better place for us to begin than at the end?
Yep. So we chose our first recipe to make from that final Mary's memo. We specifically chose the chutney frosted cheese spread because Mary said that while she always wrote about food she liked, not everyone always agreed, and this recipe was one of them. We figured that throughout this podcast, we may be choosing some recipes that suited our taste as kids in the 1970s, but have not necessarily stood the test of time.
Oh, true. And everybody has a different opinion about what tastes good and what is gross, like peas. And because of that, we expect to have some winners and totally some clunkers. But no matter what, we expect to have fun making them. So, with that, let's get started on Mary's final memo. So the ingredients for chutney frosted cheese spread are cheeses, which would be cheddar cheese, cream cheese, a couple spices, garlic, curry, some scallions, mayonnaise,
Mayo. It's
and
not a 70s recipe without mayo.
amen,
Yeah.
and chutney, go figure. More specifically, it is Major Gray's chutney,
Ooh.
which I was able to find locally, much to my surprise. And even more to my surprise, there's a recipe on the back of Major Gray's chutney
Yeah.
that is darn near identical to the one that we are making today.
Oh my gosh, really?
Very interesting. So, Mary indicates that this recipe is adapted from someone else's recipe, Marlene Sorotsky,
Yes.
and her year round holiday cookbook.
Yes, from 1982. So I misspoke when I said mayo is always part of a 70s recipe. I think it was pretty big in the 80s too.
I'm thinking mayo in Northwest Ohio is just a winner all the time. Well, so as I looked at the recipe at the back of Major Gray's chutney, there is one very big difference. This one has scallions, theirs has cilantro.
Ooh.
So I'm assuming that the one on the back of the container is a more recent recipe
Right.
because cilantro is definitely a newer thing that people necessarily weren't using back in the 80s.
Absolutely. And I'm glad it's not cilantro because
Oh.
you hate cilantro.
I am one of those people that cilantro tastes like, they say soap, but it's much more like dirt to
Yes,
me.
yes.
It's not an appealing taste at all.
Right. So you know how Carrie said that, we would make foods and we might not like them, and peas was one of them.
Ugh.
Cilantro is her other.
Yes, it is a nemesis. So I can eat scallions. I'm happy with that.
Good.
So the first thing that we need to do is mix the cheese, the spices, and the scallions and the mayonnaise together. So basically we're mixing it all together except the chutney.
Okay. Did you say the scallions get mixed in there too?
Yes. And we're going to leave a quarter cup out, apparently as a garnish.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we can start doing that. And so as we get ready, my first thought was, I do not know what a chutney is. I don't know chutney versus jam versus jelly. It looks very much like a jelly to me. And so I looked it up, and apparently they're all very, very similar. It depends on the fruits and the other things that are in it. Chutneys always have vinegar in them.
I didn't know that.
So there's a bit of a tang. It stems from India.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very popular addition to Indian dishes. As a matter of fact, according to what I read, many Indian dishes just don't feel or seem to be complete without the addition of a chutney.
Ooh.
And they're made from all different kinds of fruits, mango being one of the most popular.
Nice.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So, yeah, if you're cooking an Indian dish and it doesn't have a chutney, you should probably get one.
And get Major Gray's.
And maybe Major Gray's.
Apparently. Well, I'm going to start chopping up these scallions. And, I always wonder, ooh, that sounded loud. That is a brand new jar of garlic powder.
It is. I popped open the top there. That was pretty exciting.
Oh, that's funny. Every time I see a recipe and it calls for scallions or green onions, I'm like, gosh, I wonder if there's a difference. They look the same.
Right.
And so I looked that up because I was interested.
Sure.
And basically, scallions are a little milder in flavor, but it kind of depends on the grocery store as to how they're labeled. Green onions could be labeled scallions. Scallions could be labeled green onion.
Interesting. So
Yes.
you really just don't know.
No, and you can just basically do them interchangeably. Well, I'm chopping these onions, and while I do, I have to tell you, when we looked at this recipe and I saw chutney frosted cheese spread, it made me just keep thinking of Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flake cereal, which is weird, right? Which then brought back this memory of this one time, of course, in 70s, early 80s, they had all those contests on the back of cereal boxes.
Yes.
Right? And you could just write away to enter them. And I got really big into that for a while. Never won anything. I sent away to Frosted Flakes to win something. Didn't even remember. I don't think I even looked at what I'd win. Right. I just sent them out.
No, because what you win is not important.
No. It's
winning is important.
Right. And I won. Yeah, guess what they sent me?
What?
All kinds of sports equipment. I am the most non-sporty person in the universe. And I received a wiffle ball, a softball, a basketball.
Wow.
Yeah.
I bet I enjoyed playing with those.
I bet you did. And let's tell everyone about my softball story.
Oh.
This is so pathetic. This is how horrifically bad I am at sports.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I got on a softball team, and my dad realized that I did not know how to catch at all. So he got me a mitt, and he took me out to teach me how to play catch. And Kristen was like, well, I want to learn how to play catch.
Well, yeah, I wanted to be included.
Of course. And so he would hit the ball or throw it way up in the air, and we'd call mine and run up and get it. And then we were doing really great. So we got mom to come out so we could show off our newfound skills.
I think you're talking about your newfound skills.
Do I keep going?
I'll go ahead and tell it. So I think it was probably the minute mom walked out there, I was like, Mom, look, I can catch this ball. And Dad threw it at me. He threw it at me, and I did not catch it. It landed smack in the middle of my rib cage. Thunk.
Oh, I mean, it's like, you know, when someone hits a bass drum and you can feel the sound reverberate through your body. I swear I could feel the thunk.
I hated Frosted Flakes after that. I'm just kidding.
You know what else I remember you winning?
Oh, what?
And I don't really remember what it is. I just remember the pictures because, I mean, I had the bowl cut. I know that you got a T-shirt. And I know the T-shirt said Numero Uno on it.
Uno, Dad.
Dad.
It was for my dad. One of the local Mexican restaurants had a contest. You had to write why your dad was the best. And I wrote in why my dad was the best, and I won. And we won a free meal.
Nice.
And I won a T-shirt that was too small. And so my chubby little preteen.
No, stop. I remember you sitting in the garden.
Yes.
With your Numero Uno finger up, smiling with your little bowl cut.
If I can find that horrific picture, we'll put it on the website.
Your big 80s glasses.
Oh my gosh. It is embarrassing. It is so bad, but I was so proud.
As you should be. I mean, that's impressive. You wrote something.
Yes.
They picked you.
I was probably the only kid who entered that contest.
These are minor details. They don't matter.
Numero Uno, Dad. Oh my gosh.
I don't remember the dad, but I do remember the Numero Uno T-shirt.
That is funny. Well, we'll have to see if the T-shirt said Numero Uno, Dad.
Right.
But heck yeah, I had my finger up. I'm Numero Uno.
That is awesome.
So when you're
a big winner.
Man, sports equipment and a too small T-shirt? Who else wouldn't want that? Now I'm chopping these green onions. How far do you go into the green? Because this is a lot of green onion / scallion.
It really is. I don't know. You know, as I'm putting in the chili powder, so one of the things that we have noticed.
You mean curry powder.
I did not put in chili powder. I put in curry powder. And one of the things I noticed as we've been looking through Mary's Memos recipes, just in general, is I think it might be a statement of the times, but there are very few spices in the recipes by and large. A little salt, a little pepper. Sometimes you'll see a dash of this or that.
Yeah.
But by and large,
that's it.
You don't see a lot of spices happening. So as I'm putting in 2 teaspoons worth of curry powder into this, I'm thinking, wow, I mean, this is pretty remarkable. This is a spicy dish. No wonder somebody tried this and asked Mary who would have done this, who would thought of this, because this is pretty spicy.
That's a lot of flavor.
It really does.
A lot of green onion. I can smell them here. You know, sometimes recipes nowadays specifically tell you whether you need to use the whites of the green onion or the greens of the green onion.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure the difference between the two. So I'm setting aside the 1/4 cup of the green onions, and I just put the green parts aside because that'll be the prettiest.
Yes,
on the
for sure.
top. And then the rest of these go in.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's just put half and mix it up and see how that looks.
Such a chicken.
Now, this recipe says that you can use a food processor to mix this up. But our mom certainly would not have had a food processor in the 80s.
She doesn't have a food processor now.
No. So I think we decided to go old school in our lovely burnt orange bowl with the wheat chaff on the outside.
Perfect. You may hear some grunting and groaning as our arm starts to burn we may take turns stirring this up.
Now we did put out the cream cheese on the counter to kind of soften up. The recipe didn't say to do that, but I know from experience trying to mix anything in with a fresh block of cream cheese out of the fridge is hard. It is painful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think that we have all of our ingredients in. And so we're going to go ahead and get to mixing. Kristen, you going first?
I'm going to go first here.
Get the arm muscles working.
Ooh, we may need something other than a spatula. It's kind of bendy. Well, we'll try it.
Wooden spoon, maybe?
Always, Carrie. Always. All right, I'm grabbing a wooden spoon. I think it'll actually work better.
Okay. So as we are mixing all these cheeses and other things together, it reminds me of my childhood.
Not mine?
No.
Oh.
And cheese balls.
Ooh, cheese balls.
Do you remember the cheese balls with the, I don't know what kind of unknown orange cheese on the inside?
Ooh, like planches that used to come in a can?
No. Like the actual cheese ball that was cheese on the inside and nuts on the outside.
Oh, yes. Our mom made those often.
Yes. And what I remember is it must have been like she'd have company over on Saturday night and we'd have a cheese ball. And of course, they didn't eat it all. And so at the end of the night, I remember her reforming the half-eaten cheese ball into a smaller ball and putting on more nuts so that we could take a cheese ball to the church potluck the following day.
No, totally. Oh, that's kind of creepy.
I talk about waste not, want not.
Absolutely. Well, what a good homemaker.
It kind of grossed me out at the time. And I remember saying something to her actually, and she was kind of, frustrated with me. And she's like, well, they used a knife to scoop it out.
Well, that's true. It's not like they were taking bites directly out of it.
Right. But it's still, reforming the cheese ball. However, so you kind of stole my thunder when you went with the Planters cheese balls.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Because as I got thinking about the cheese ball with the nuts on the outside, it made me think of the Planters cheese balls. Because they had like a hint of danger. You'd open that can top, and you'd have to reach your hand, and you may or may not cut your arm.
That's true.
As you went to, and what I really remember is Sundays after church, we would stop by the grocery store to get food for lunch, coming home and having lunch of whatever that always seemed to include Planters cheese balls and Twinkies.
Twinkies. I was going to say Twinkies. That was such a special treat.
Oh, it was just the best. Sundays, the cheese balls and the Twinkie combo.
Twinkies. Yum.
Yes. And you never had the cheese ball can for the next week because, that sucker was gone.
Oh, heck yeah.
By the end of Sunday lunch.
Totally
we
gone.
had eaten them all.
Do you remember the one time that instead of Twinkies, we got Little Debbie Banana Twins?
No.
Oh, man. Those were not my favorites.
No.
I think I may have gotten sick and, just after I had eaten Banana Twins. And so that totally put me off.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I don't have any recollection of Banana Twins, but I feel horror for you.
Thank you, because the artificial banana flavor. Now, some people may absolutely love them, and I may have loved them, but when you get sick after eating anything, you just can't eat it again.
Did you know, this is just off the cuff knowledge that I happened to pick up some random place at some point in time, that artificial banana flavor, it tastes very artificial, right?
Yeah.
It actually is based on a type of banana that is no longer grows.
Yes.
At the time that the artificial banana flavoring was made, it was the popular banana. I have no idea why it no longer grows.
I do.
Oh, what?
I know. I think I know this random info, but the bananas that we eat today are not the same variety that our parents ate. Right. Those were much smaller and they tasted different, and I'm not quite sure if they were sweeter or not as sweet, but I think something happened to that banana crop, and that particular variety just basically became extinct.
Wow.
Yeah.
So banana flavoring tastes fake because it does not taste like the bananas of today.
Interesting.
It tastes like bananas of the day that was made. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
That is so interesting. So now look at this. I've mixed it pretty well. I don't think you have to help. Look at my big biceps doing that.
Look at you.
Miss Non-Sporty. Mix that up real good.
You may not be able to catch a softball, but you can mix up cheese right good.
I sure can.
Proud of you.
Now, I did not add about an eighth of the green onion, and I can't imagine putting more in. Can you?
No.
That's very green oniony, and it smells very strong.
It does.
So what's our next step with this?
Yeah, so you take that cheese spread, you take a like bowl that you want to serve it in,
Okay, I have a shallow bowl here.
and you slap it in there,
All right.
and then you spread it around, and then we're going to refrigerate it so it gets kind of hard. And then after all that's done, we're going to pour the major glazed chutney over the top of it. So when you take your cracker or other dippable item, you're going to get some chutney and then the cheese. So really what I was thinking, I don't know if you've ever served this, where you just take a block of cream cheese
Oh yeah.
and then you pour like pepper jelly on the top of it.
Yeah, that's yum.
It is super simple and delicious. Well, this is a fancier version of that.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
I bet it's going to be delicious.
I think it's going to be quite tasty.
Absolutely. So we're going to spread. You want to spread that out a little bit?
Sure.
My arm's getting tired.
I am not going to agree with the guy that tasted it and asked, "What on earth have you created here?"
No, I think it's going to be really yummy. It smells delicious.
It does. I'm of the opinion you really just, it's hard to use too much curry. So I like to make chicken salad with curry in it.
Oh, I love that. Do you put fruit like grapes and apples?
And I always do grapes and almond slivers.
Ooh, yum.
And it's my absolute favorite. So I was making some and I had a cold. And so I kept adding curry and tasting it and adding curry and tasting it. And I couldn't taste the curry. But the chicken salad at this point is kind of yellow. And I'm like, man, what is going on here? So I'm like, I call my husband over and I'm like, can you taste this? Because I can't taste any curry in it at all. And so he takes the bite and he's like, yeah, you can taste it. So I had to eat it real fast before I got rid of the cold.
Oh no, because it tasted like burning.
It was way too inedible for normal people.
No.
But with my nose, it tasted just fine. And I thought it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, this makes me think of, do you remember our dad's curry toast story?
I totally forgot about that.
So our dad loved to have a snack of cinnamon toast.
Yes.
Right? Which is funny because Carrie always wanted to have toast as a snack. But as a kid, she never remembered to tell our mom that that is what she would really enjoy as an after school snack. She just thought it in her head. And so mom had no idea. So Carrie never had toast as a snack.
Nope.
Very disappointing.
Toast is a really great snack.
Well,
y'all.
our dad obviously thought so, right?
Mhm.
So he got out. I don't think he even took the time to mix the cinnamon with the sugar. I think he buttered the toast, sprinkled a little sugar, and then sprinkled a little cinnamon.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one time he accidentally grabbed the curry powder instead of the cinnamon.
No.
So he sprinkled on the sugar, he sprinkled on curry powder, and he made 2 slices. He was through the second slice when he realized something wasn't quite right. And he called our mom over and said, "Something wrong with this cinnamon." And she tasted it and she said, "That's curry powder. You ate curry toast." I think maybe that's why he doesn't like the flavor of curry.
He had it all in one sitting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of a man thing. Didn't you have a guy friend that made some like frozen chicken wings? And you're like, oh, I'd always thought about buying these. How are they? And he's like, oh, they taste like crap. But I eat them.
That's exactly. Maybe it is a man thing.
I don't know.
I don't like it. It tastes horrible.
Curry toast is disgusting,
but I ate it. All right. So we are going to put this in the fridge, let it sit for a while, let the flavors kind of marinate together, and we'll be back in 24 hours to let you know how it went.
Or just a second.
Yeah. Okay. Through the magic of technology, it has been overnight.
Well, good morning,
Good
Kristen.
morning. Did you have a good night's sleep?
I did.
Oh, awesome. Do you have to take melatonin or are you okay?
I'm at the age that sleep is questionable.
I know.
But last night was a good night. So thanks for asking. How about you?
Yep, pretty good night's sleep. I mean, how could I not sleep well? I could not wait to get to bed, to get up and finish our cheese spread recipe.
Well, that helps to have something to look forward to.
Absolutely. All right. So Carrie's putting on the chutney.
As I'm doing that, in addition to the raisins, there are chunks of mango.
Ooh,
yeah.
This looks yummy and chunky. Anyway, as you are doing that, I wanted to tell you that a memory came up as I was looking at the date of this recipe.
Okay.
The original recipe
And-
that Mary talks about.
And what is that date?
It's 1982.
Okay.
So I would have been 12, depending on the time of year, and you would have been 9, right? And so that is the year that Michael Jackson's album Thriller came out.
Yes.
And I remember listening to that for the first time in your friend Jimmy's basement.
Really?
Yes, it was so cool, but it was scary to me because of Vincent Price.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, he sounded so creepy
Yes.
and it was so cool.
Yes.
Do you remember that album at all? Did you listen to it? You were 9.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't remember that moment at all.
You must not have been there.
Oh.
Why on earth? I was in Jimmy's basement. Well,
Why were you
You
hanging
weren't.
with my friends
I don't
without
know, because
me?
he would have been 9. He was your age. That's just weird.
That's pretty creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. But on that album, there were other songs that you know. I'm sure The Girl Is Mine.
Oh, yes.
The girl is mine. The doggone girl is mine. Do you remember who sang that with him?
No, not at all.
Paul McCartney.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Didn't
And
know.
let's see, Beat It was on there.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that. Billie Jean, PYT. Do you remember that? PYT.
Pretty young thing. I don't know any more than that.
Me neither. Want to be starting something. Got to be starting
Oh my
something.
gosh, he had tons of hits
All
on that
of
one.
them were amazing.
Yes.
And so listening to that and thinking back about Vincent Price made me think of a TV show that we both watched in the 70s that also had Vincent Price in a very campy role. Do you know what TV show I'm talking about?
No.
The Brady Bunch.
What? Vincent Price was on the Brady Bunch?
Yes, he was in the episode or 3 episodes where the Bradys went to Hawaii. Do you remember that?
I do. I have vague memories, but if I recall correctly, there was like a tiki idol.
Yep. There was a tiki idol that Bobby found and it brought everybody bad luck.
Yes, I remember that.
Greg Brady was in a surfing contest because why not? Some rando guy goes to Hawaii and of course he's allowed into the surfing contest.
Well, because he's the coolest cat around. Greg Brady.
Or Johnny Bravo, as he was later known as.
The height of coolness.
Absolutely. And so he wore the tiki idol that Bobby gave him, and then he fell off the surfboard and knocked his noggin on the surfboard, and they couldn't find him.
Oh my gosh.
Scary Alice threw her back out when she was wearing the tiki idol.
I can feel that pain, Alice.
Oh, I
feel
can't
that
see,
pain.
man. Alice, that's hard. Not only did you have to be a live-in maid for these folks, then you throw your back out. Ouch.
It's funny that you mentioned the Brady Bunch
Mhm.
because I always thought on Mary's memos, the original ones, like back in the 70s,
Yeah.
Mary, I thought looked just like Carol Brady.
Oh, that's so funny.
I thought she was. Like as a kid, I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was someone else. I thought she was Carol
That's
Brady.
so funny because probably Carol Brady was your idea of a homemaker.
Probably.
Right? Because I don't think Mary looks a thing like Carol Brady.
Probably not.
But
I was a kid.
So we've got the chutney on. I think we need to sprinkle. Do you want to sprinkle on the green onion?
Yes, I'm gonna.
Oh, that's too much, man. A quarter cup is a lot of green onion.
Okay, so I'm gonna use a quarter of a quarter cup.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So we have really cut the green onion down. Maybe green onions were smaller.
You know,
in the 70s.
You got very big ones. You bought 2 very large bunches.
Why, thank you.
I just said you got big ones. That's so inappropriate. Okay, moving on.
You're so complimentary, Kristen.
Moving on from your big ones. Those were 2 big bunches of scallions or green onions.
They were. And, even like, I don't know, chicken breasts now.
Yes.
They're huge.
Yeah.
I do not think people were eating chicken breasts that big back in the day.
No, so I think as we progress through Cooking Mary's Memos, we're going to have a lot of instances of this.
I think
things have changed. I think, we won't be able to find everything that we're looking for. I think that if we end up cooking anything in a microwave, that the timing is going to be different.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be fun to just see how things go.
It is. It's part of the fun of it is we're just kind of along for the ride.
Absolutely. So let's get a picture of this dish because it's looking mighty yummy.
It really is.
Yep.
So I think we'll get a picture and we'll get some crackers out so we can try this bad boy. Yeah, let's do it and get to the taste test.
Okay, we are ready to try this delicious dip. We have crackers ready. We have the knife ready, which happens to be the knives that we grew up with. We used this silverware when we were kids. It has the beautiful brown inlay in the handle.
Of we don't know what. It's not wood. It's
not
just
wood.
brown.
All right, so I'm going to take a sample, and I'm eating gluten-free, so my crackers are going to be uber crunchy. I apologize. I'll try not to crunch in your ears, but let's give this a try.
So I am amazed at the quantity of spread this has made. Like it's a large container of spread. And so I'm going to quickly revert back to my cheese ball comment. And I found that the first cheese ball was invented by a guy in Massachusetts, and he presented it to President Jefferson in the White House.
Oh, really?
In 1801. And that puppy weighed 1,235 pounds.
Think about the cows that had to be milked to make that cheese ball.
Think about the poor horse that had to draw the carriage.
No kidding.
Holding that cheese ball.
Now, if that cheese ball was as yummy as this one is, then people would be happy. Jefferson would have been very happy. I'm enjoying this very much. I'm going to try one more, and while I try it, I'll put some on a cracker for you too.
Oh, aren't you thoughtful?
The sweet with the curry. That's what I love about when we make that. I make curry chicken salad as well, and I love to put grapes in mine.
Mhm.
I love that little sweetness with the curry. Did you want to give it a try first before I take a second bite? So it is just glistening. You can taste the curry. You can taste the garlic. It has those yummy, savory undertones, lots and lots of scallion in it, lots of oniony flavor. I think probably the longer it sits in the fridge, the more mellow it would become. What do you think?
I think that is delicious.
I would serve this happily at any party.
Oh, yeah. It is really as good as the block of cream cheese with the pepper jelly, but so elevated and nice.
Absolutely. And it would taste good with cilantro, not to you, but it would taste good with cilantro to me. Just that freshness of the green vegetable in there, herb in there is just so nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. Now take your chances. If you do not find Major Gray's chutney, we cannot guarantee it'll be equally as delicious. But Major Gray clearly makes a mean chutney, and it is good on this cheese spread. I do not agree with the man that asked Mary what the heck she was thinking about this.
No.
I think it was great.
Yep. And it is a dish where the mayonnaise is in there to blend the things together, but it doesn't come across as mayonnaise-y tasting at all.
Not at all. Nice and cheesy and flavorful. And
very, very flavorful.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If you do want to see pictures of either the binder that started this or copies of the original Mary's memos, you can find them on our website. You'll also be able to find an accompanying blog for each podcast that we do, where there's some additional information and hopefully a couple laughs. If you like what you heard, please share this podcast with a friend and be sure to give us some positive feedback. If you didn't have fun with us, keep it to yourself, or we may have to grab the wooden spoon. Thanks for listening to Mom's Wooden Spoon. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe. If you want a copy of this recipe or to check out our blog, click on the link to our website in the podcast description. If you'd rather, you could get to our website through Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Pick your poison.
Don't say poison. We're making food.